What does that say? Live rattlesnake.
So let's open up our can of Grant's Premium Haggis and see what bounty of organ meat pudding awaits us.
Peeled
Lambs!
Canned foods have been a convenient option for many people, but not all of them have been winners. Some past canned foods were downright terrible. These foods failed to impress consumers and quickly disappeared from shelves. So join us in exploring the 20 worst canned foods that faded into history.
This episode of the show is brought to you by an old world favorite, Rose pork brains with milk gravy.
Pork brains and milk gravy. Back in the 20th century, particularly in the southern United States, there was a peculiar canned food called pork brains and milk gravy. This delicacy featured pork brains floating in a creamy milky sauce. Sold primarily during the mid-1900s, it was considered a budget-friendly option, typically priced at around 50 cents to $1 per can. Surprisingly, this canned oddity gained a small but devoted following in some regions, especially among those who enjoyed traditional Southern cuisine. Notwithstanding its niche popularity, pork brains and milk gravy eventually faded into obscurity due to its unconventional ingredients and perceived unappetizing appearance. While some adventurous eaters may have found it intriguing, most consumers were put off eating brains, especially in a creamy context. Today, this canned curiosity is remembered chiefly as a quirky relic of culinary history, with few clamoring for its return to supermarket shelves. As diners reminisce about the quirky canned delicacies of the past, such as pork brains and milk gravy, were there any other peculiar culinary concoctions that attempted to capture attention and appetite, perhaps even rivaling the eccentricity of creamed possum?
Flavorful morsel of meat, you can smell the hickory, oak, and applewood and taste the rare herbs and spices required for its cure.
Creamed possum. Creamed possum, a novelty canned food item, appeared briefly in the mid-20th century. Sold mainly as a gag gift or novelty item rather than a serious culinary choice, it typically cost around $2 to $3 per can. Despite its low price, creamed possum never gained widespread popularity due to its unusual concept of possum meat served in a creamy sauce. While possums are sometimes eaten in certain cultures, the idea of consuming them in a canned cream form was met with skepticism and often revulsion by consumers. Its sales were limited, primarily appealing to adventurous eaters or those seeking a quirky gift. With its niche appeal and lack of mainstream acceptance, creamed possum quickly faded into obscurity, becoming a curious footnote in the history of canned foods. Today, it's remembered more for its novelty than any culinary merit.
In a while, but I want to make a quick video to try out turtle soup.
Turtle soup. Turtle soup, a curious canned delicacy, flourished in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Sold primarily in the U.S. and Europe, it cost around $1 or $2 per can, making it relatively affordable. While not as popular as more conventional soups like chicken noodles or tomato, turtle soup still garnered a modest following among adventurous eaters and those seeking exotic culinary experiences. One of the defining characteristics of turtle soup was its gelatinous texture, which some found off-putting while others appreciated for its unique mouthfeel. The soup was typically made from turtle meat simmered with vegetables and spices to create a rich, flavorful broth. However, as attitudes toward wildlife conservation and animal welfare evolved, the consumption of turtle meat fell out of favor. Combined with changing taste and preferences, turtle soup gradually faded into obscurity, becoming a relic of a bygone era rather than a staple of modern cuisine. But amidst the fascination for unconventional delicacies, did canned rattlesnake, with its compelling promise of snake meat, ever rival the popularity of turtle soup?
What does that say? Live rattlesnake. What's in there?
Rattlesnake. Canned rattlesnake, an unusual offering in the world of canned foods, appeared sporadically in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Typically priced at around $3 to $4 per can, it was considered a novelty item rather than a mainstream food choice. Despite its unique selling point of containing rattlesnake meat, it has yet to become popular due to its exotic nature and consumers' apprehension about consuming snake meat. The rattlesnake meat was often preserved in a salty brine, which helped retain its flavor and texture. While some adventurous eaters may have been intrigued by exotic meat, most consumers hesitated to enter unfamiliar culinary territory. As taste and preferences evolved and concerns about wildlife conservation grew, rattlesnake meat consumption became increasingly uncommon. Consequently, canned rattlesnakes disappeared from shelves, becoming a curious relic of the past rather than a staple of modern cuisine.
Oh no, he's gonna be home any minute, and I haven't even started dinner yet. What would my mother do? Of course, whole chicken in a can.
Whole chicken. Canned whole chicken, an intriguing yet unsettling product, emerged in the mid-20th century, primarily during the 1950s and 60s. It was sold for about $2 to $3 per can and was marketed as a convenient meal option, offering a fully cooked chicken preserved in a gelatinous broth. Despite its practical appeal, the canned whole chicken never gained widespread popularity. One of the most striking features of this product was its presentation. Opening a can revealed a whole chicken, including bones, submerged in a thick, jelly-like substance. While some consumers found the concept convenient, others were put off by the unappetizing appearance and the texture of the gelatinous broth. Concerns about food safety and quality arose, as the preservation methods used for canned whole chickens sometimes resulted in undesirable flavors or textures. As a result, sales of this canned delicacy remained limited, appealing mainly to those seeking extreme convenience or novelty. Over time, as consumer taste evolved and preferences shifted towards fresher, higher quality foods, the popularity of canned whole chicken waned.
Today we have Salisbury Farm whole peeled lamb tongues.
Lamb tongue. Canned lamb tongue, an unusual canned food item, first appeared in the mid-20th century, typically during the 1950s and 60s. Priced at around $1 or $2 per can, it was considered an affordable yet niche product. However, the canned lamb tongue never gained widespread popularity due to its unconventional nature. The product consisted of lamb tongue meat preserved in brine or gelatin, resulting in a unique texture and flavor. While some adventurous eaters may have been intrigued by tongue meat, the concept put most consumers off. As culinary preferences evolved and consumers became more discerning, sales of canned lamb tongues dwindled, eventually leading to their disappearance from shelves. Today, it's mainly remembered as a curious relic of the mid-20th century canned food scene, with few expressing nostalgia for its return. The canned lamb tongue serves as a reminder of the diverse array of canned foods that have come and gone throughout history.
Let me know in the comments if y'all eat this canned beef tripe in milk. I saw this at my local Food Lion for $10.99.
Beef tripe. Canned beef tripe, featuring cow stomach lining, appeared primarily in the mid-20th century from the 1950s to the 1970s. It was considered a budget-friendly option, typically priced at around $2 to $3 per can. However, despite its affordability, canned beef tripe never gained widespread popularity. The tripe was often preserved in a brine solution, which helped maintain its flavor and texture. However, many consumers found its chewy texture and strong smell off-putting, leading to its limited appeal. While tripe is enjoyed in some cuisines worldwide, the concept of consuming it from a can did not resonate with most consumers. As a result, sales remained low and canned beef tripe eventually faded into obscurity.
So let's open up our can of Grant's Premium Haggis and see what bounty of organ meat pudding awaits us.
Haggis. Haggis, a traditional Scottish dish made from sheep's heart, liver, and lungs mixed with onions, oatmeal, and spices, found its way into cans in the mid-20th century. Initially, it was marketed as a convenient way for expatriates and curious food enthusiasts to enjoy this classic meal without elaborate preparation. During the 60s and 70s, canned haggis were available in supermarkets in the UK and abroad, priced at around 50 cents per can, which was relatively affordable back then. Despite its cultural significance in Scotland, canned haggis never gained widespread popularity. Many people found the idea of eating sheep organs off-putting, and the texture of the canned version didn't compare favorably to the freshly prepared haggis. Moreover, the appearance and smell of the canned product were often described as rancid, further limiting its appeal. Some manufacturers have tried to improve their recipes and packaging to attract more customers. They added more spices and created more visually appealing labels, but these efforts needed more success. By the late 80s, sales of canned haggis had dwindled significantly, leading most companies to discontinue the product. Canned haggis remains a quirky footnote in the history of canned foods. Enthusiasts who crave authentic haggis prefer to prepare it fresh or purchase it from specialty shops, leaving the canned version to fade into obscurity. After you reflect on the fate of canned haggis, did canned alligator face similar challenges in winning over consumers, or did its exotic allure carve a different path in the canned delicacies?
Look at that. So this is like a little stew or something, but I think it's mostly in sauce, and there's a big pieces of alligator.
Alligator. Introduced in the 1950s, canned alligator meat was an adventurous culinary option that never caught on. Marketed as an exotic delicacy, it appealed mainly to curious eaters and novelty seekers. At around $1.50 per can, canned alligator meat was more expensive than common canned meats like tuna or chicken in the 1960s. Despite its unique appeal, canned alligators faced significant hurdles. The texture, often compared to chewy chicken, did not resonate well with most consumers. Eating alligator was too exotic for many, limiting its market to a niche audience. Even in regions where alligator meat was more familiar, such as the southern United States, people preferred it fresh rather than canned. Efforts to boost its popularity included marketing campaigns highlighting its novelty and health benefits. However, these attempts fell short as consumers continued to find the texture unappetizing and the flavor needing improvement. By the 1980s, declining sales led to its discontinuation. Today, canned alligator meat is remembered as a peculiar and short-lived experiment in the canned food industry.
We are reviewing canned corned beef hash. As if I haven't had enough hash lately.
Corned beef hash. Corned beef hash, a greasy, salty mixture of corned beef and potatoes, was a staple canned food sold from the early 20th century. It was trendy during the 50s and 60s, often priced at around $0.25 a can. This cheap and convenient meal gained popularity among busy families and those with limited cooking skills. Despite its initial popularity, corned beef hash had significant drawbacks. The texture was often mushy, with the potatoes and beef blending into an unappealing, uniform consistency. The high salt and grease content also made it a less than healthy option, contributing to its decline as people became more health conscious. While satisfying to some, the taste was considered overly salty and heavy, making it an acquired taste that only appealed to some. Efforts to revamp the product by adding different seasonings or vegetables were largely unsuccessful in reversing its declining popularity. By the late 80s, canned corned beef hash had fallen out of favor, overshadowed by fresher and more nutritious meal options. Armadillo meat. Canned armadillo meat hit the market in the 1950s with its distinct gamey flavor. Priced at around $1 per can, it was marketed as an exotic delicacy for adventurous eaters. Initially, it sparked curiosity and had a niche following, especially among those interested in unusual meats. Even with its intriguing premise, canned armadillo meat faced several challenges. The gamey flavor was off-putting to many, and the texture did not compare favorably to more common meats. Additionally, eating armadillo needed to be more varied for the average consumer, further limiting its appeal. Efforts to popularize it through novelty and gourmet food markets could have been more successful. By the 1970s, sales had significantly declined, leading to its discontinuation. With adventurous eaters sampling canned armadillo meat in the 1950s, did its unique flavor inspire any culinary innovations akin to the unconventional appeal of fish balls? Fish balls. Canned fish balls made from ground fish formed into balls and preserved in a savory, often fishy sauce were introduced in the 1940s. Priced at about 30 cents per can, they aimed to offer a convenient seafood option for busy households. Initially, they found some popularity, particularly in regions where fresh seafood was less accessible. However, canned fish balls faced several issues. The fishy smell and taste were too strong for many consumers, and the texture was often described as rubbery or mushy. These qualities made them less appealing than fresh seafood or other canned fish products like tuna or salmon. Attempts to enhance the recipe with different sauces or seasonings did not significantly boost their popularity. By the 70s, as consumer preferences shifted towards fresher and higher quality foods, sales of canned fish balls declined sharply. Most brands discontinued them by the 1980s. Sea urchin. Canned sea urchins featuring robust and salty sea urchins were introduced to the market during the 60s. Priced around $2 per can, they were considered a gourmet item for adventurous food lovers and those seeking exotic seafood. Initially, they enjoyed great popularity, especially among fans of Japanese cuisine, where sea urchin or uni is a delicacy. However, the transition from fresh to canned could have gone better. The texture of canned sea urchin roe often became mushy, and the strong, salty flavor intensified in the canning process, making it too overpowering for many palates. Unlike fresh sea urchin, which has a delicate creamy taste, the canned version failed to capture the same culinary appeal. Efforts to broaden its appeal by marketing it as a luxury item or incorporating it into gourmet recipes did little to boost its popularity. By the 1980s, as fresh seafood became more accessible and consumers grew more discerning, the demand for canned sea urchins dwindled. Canned sea urchin is a forgotten product, remembered only by culinary adventurers and seafood enthusiasts. Its decline underscores the challenge of preserving the subtle qualities of gourmet foods in a can, leading to its fade into obscurity in the canned food aisle.
It's like deep fried duck.
It's going to be KFC. Don't fuck with the kettle.
This is look KFC.
Do you imagine eating that cold?
Duck confit. Canned duck confit, featuring duck legs preserved in their fat, hit the market in the 1960s. It was priced at around $1.75 per can and was marketed as a gourmet convenient meal option for food enthusiasts. Initially, it was popular among those who appreciated traditional French cuisine but needed more time to prepare it from scratch. However, canned duck confit faced significant challenges. The preservation process left the duck legs with a greasy texture that many found unappealing. The flavor, although rich, was often overshadowed by the overwhelming greasiness, which deterred many potential customers. Despite efforts to market it as a luxurious, ready-to-eat meal, canned duck confit struggled to gain widespread acceptance. People who enjoyed duck confit preferred freshly prepared versions, finding the canned alternative inferior. By the 80s, as culinary standards and preferences evolved, sales of canned duck confit had significantly declined. The canned duck confit failed to captivate consumers with its greasy texture and lackluster flavor. But what if another French delicacy faced similar challenges? Could canned escargot, preserved in brine, have encountered comparable obstacles despite its gourmet allure?
There are the snails. I smell an earthy smell.
Snails or escargot. Canned snails or escargot, preserved in brine, were introduced to the market in the 1960s. Priced at around $2 per can, they were marketed as a gourmet delicacy, making the French culinary experience accessible to home cooks worldwide. Initially, they found some popularity among adventurous eaters and fans of French cuisine who appreciated the convenience. However, canned escargot faced significant challenges. The brine preservation process altered the snail's texture, often making them rubbery and less palatable than fresh snails. The pungent brine taste could overpower the delicate flavor that makes fresh escargot appealing, even when served with traditional garlic butter. Efforts to popularize canned snails included gourmet recipes and elegant packaging, but these measures couldn't overcome the fundamental issues of texture and taste. As a result, the product struggled to gain a broad consumer base. By the late 80s, the demand for canned escargot sharply declined as food preferences shifted towards fresher and more authentic culinary experiences. Tripe soup. Canned tripe soup, made from cow stomach lining, appeared on shelves in the mid-20th century. Sold for around $1.50 per can, it aimed to provide a convenient option for fans of offal-based dishes. However, despite its affordability, it has yet to gain widespread popularity. One of the main challenges with canned tripe soup was its distinctive chewy texture. While some consumers enjoyed the unique mouthfeel, many found it off-putting and difficult to stomach. Additionally, the strong aroma and flavor of the tripe could be overpowering for some palates, further limiting its appeal. Efforts to make canned tripe soup more palatable included adding spices and herbs to mask its strong taste. However, these attempts needed more success in attracting a broader audience. By the 1980s, as culinary taste evolved and canned food options diversified, sales of tripe soup declined significantly.
We've got braised eel. I bought these 2 tins of braised eel at the Chinese supermarket.
Eel. Canned eel, featuring eel meat preserved in a savory sauce, debuted in the 1950s. Priced at around $2 per can, it targeted adventurous eaters and those looking for exotic cuisine without the hassle of preparation. Despite its initial novelty, canned eel faced challenges in gaining popularity. The strong, sometimes overpowering, oily taste and texture deterred many consumers. Additionally, the unfamiliarity of eel meat and its distinct flavor profile limited its appeal to a niche audience. Efforts to improve the product by refining the sauce or packaging could have done more to boost sales. By the 1970s, as consumer preferences shifted towards healthier and more familiar options, sales of canned eel declined sharply.
Quail eggs.
Quail eggs in a can.
In brine.
In brine.
Quail eggs. Canned quail eggs, tiny eggs from quails preserved in brine, emerged in the mid-20th century. Sold for around $1.50 per can, they aim to offer a unique and convenient snack or ingredient for cooking. However, they have yet to achieve widespread popularity. One of the main challenges with canned quail eggs was their rubbery texture. While some consumers enjoyed the novelty of their small size, many found the texture unappealing and difficult to chew. Additionally, the brine preservation process often intensified the egg's natural flavor, which could be overpowering for some palates. Efforts to improve the product by experimenting with different preservation methods or packaging could have been more successful. By the 1970s, as culinary taste evolved and consumers sought fresher and more natural foods, sales of canned quail eggs declined significantly.